Hello there. Today I'm going to talk about The Atlantic Abomination. This is a book by John Brunner. It was originally written in 1960. Literally, I picked up this book just because I like the cover. Just intrigued me. You've got this big monster on a paladin. There's hundreds of people. And I looked at this and I thought, well, it looks like a big hole. What are they doing? Then I realised that they've squashed themselves in there just so they can carry this monster across a hole. So it really, really intrigued me. I thought I've got to read this book, and I found a copy of it on Kindle. Originally, it was published in paperback, 1960. It had 138 pages, quite a small book. It's only a couple of hours to read it. The back page, the original, classed as a horror novel, but it's really science fiction. A science fiction shocker by the man who wrote the Hugo-winning Stand on Zanzibar, by the author of the Jagged Orbit, Catch a Falling Star, Times Without Number. So it doesn't really give us a lot of what's going on here. It says, it says, when the first sea bottom explorers brought up the not so dead body of an inhuman intelligence that has been sealed up for innumerable eons, Godzilla, Gorgo, King Kong stand aside for the Atlantic Abomination. Now, with the picture, I thought maybe this would be a bit like Godzilla. He's crushing cities, he's doing things like that. But then at the same time, I was thinking, well, is he controlling people? What's going on? So in the story, basically, in a nutshell, you've got deep sea explorers. They discover the sunken ruins of an ancient city, which they name Atlantica after the famous city of Atlantis. Not only have they discovered the city, but the body of a great beast. And this is where the book kind of, for me, you always have an idea in your mind of what you want things to look like. And for me, once I'd seen that front cover with that monster, that's how he was always going to look in my mind. In the book, however, he's just described as being 30 feet long with arms and legs, and he looks like nothing on planet Earth, which is a bit of a shame, really. I'd like to have known a bit more of what the author, how the author would have portrayed him to look. Anyway, so they've not only discovered this city, but they found this monster, this big monster, and these nameless monsters were once mankind's rulers. And having been in a state of hibernation for 100,000 years, they've now awoken one of them. So basically, with this monster, it can control people by its mind. So it ends up controlling, as you can see here, hundreds of thousands of people. So basically, there's the issue of millions of lives now that it's accrued. So, and the main protagonist also gets made a slave as well. So, what's the military going to do? How are they going to stop it? So, you've got this monster that can basically control people with its mind. It whips them, basically. It mentally whips them. If they try and disobey its command, well, it might kill them. It might make them commit suicide. So, in one scene in the book, it's basically come out the sea, it's on land. It's got them carrying, it's got humans carrying them in this fashion. The military are trying to stop it, and it's burning all these cars, creating barricades, and people that won't take part. The one man it makes him set himself on fire. At another point, it gets people to fight the military, so it arms them with weapons. There's a man who's a pacifist, so again, he's just put into incredible great pain because he doesn't want to fight. So the military begins to realise that all these people, they're innocents. They're coming from far and wide to appease the monster. Basically, that this monster has no mercy, has no concept. It just doesn't care for human life at all. It will make people walk over dead bodies. It will make people walk until they're dead to reach him. And then once they reach him, this monster has a real ego. They sing him songs of praise, which is interesting. So the monster starts building a refuge on Earth once it gets freed. There's other elements in there as well with its powers. It can they try and poison it at one stage, so it uses its hibernation state to lower its body vitals. So it doesn't absorb the gas, doesn't die that way. I think this is a book that it was written a long time ago. We know it was written in the 1960s. It uses kind of the language from that era as well. There's It's certainly not what I would class as a horror book. There's scenes in there that are a bit harrowing. You know, when people are sort of walking towards the monster, they'll trample on other people to get there. You know, if there's it'll include everybody. It'll want people that are invalids to come towards him. So you know, if they can't walk, they'll have to drag themselves across the floor. Children that can't make it, they'll just be left by the parents as they walk towards the monster. And what's interesting in this new world is that there's pretty much no modern weaponry. Even to try and build a nuclear bomb, they've got to get all these UN type sanctions. So the military basically at the moment they've got rockets, they've got planes, things like that to try and stop this monster, which is basically setting up human shields around it. It's trying to build underground bunkers, and it can do these things with alarming speed. It's got these workers working for him now, these slaves that they'll just work till they drop dead. Basically, the monster has no concept or care for their well-being. You know, people will just work their hands to their bone basically until they die. And these are just some other pictures of it here from different editions. So it's quite a big monster. Um, and it basically takes control of a boat first of all, then it gets on land, then it accrues masses of people to come and help it. So the way it dies at the end, that the military do defeat it. It's a bit quick. The ending is a bit of a fast ending, but I enjoyed it. It was a nice quick read book. So it's worth checking out, I think. But bear in mind, it's a pulp book from the 1960s, so it's a bit dated. But I think it's a great concept for a film, and I'd like to see it made into one, possibly one day. So that's it. That's the Atlantic Abomination by John Brunner.